What's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrifice my time so you don't have to. You know, you put yourselves in these kind of catch-22 positions, and it's very easy to fail. It's really, really easy to fail because nothing good is going to come out of this. You may say to yourself something good comes out of it, but is it worth it? That's the question that I feel guys like Tony Khan, who are running AEW at the moment, have to ask themselves, because we have the news, we have the numbers. The numbers finally came out, and it paints a picture that I feel is quite embarrassing for AEW. And like I said, it's a catch-22 situation. So it could have went one way and it would have been embarrassing, or it could have went another way and it could be embarrassing. To be quite frank, even though they went up in their numbers, I feel like this is way more embarrassing compared to going down in your numbers. Because even though you can probably say to yourself they have nothing to give and that's why they failed so easily, if the numbers would have went down or if it would have been stagnant this week, at least then you can just say it's all on AEW, right? They're their own enemy. Versus this right here, you like, the other company drew for you. Check out the viewership numbers for the April 10th episode. Let me try it again. Hang on, read the wrong thing. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer reports that AEW Dynamite on April 10th drew 819,000 viewers, which is up from the 752,000 viewers the show drew on April 3rd. Wednesday scored a 0.30 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, up from the 0.23 rating last Wednesday. Dynamite finished third on cable for the night. And check it out. This is coming from least to greatest as far as the segments that actually hit the hardest. The least as far as, again, obviously there are some other matches and stuff that go below it, but here, check it out. Will Ospreay's segment was fifth. It drew 103,000 views. The Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada, he drew 113,000 views. That's the next highest segment. Then you had Edge taking on Penta, and that drew 186,000 views. Then you had Joe versus Dustin Rhodes, that drew 220,000 views. And then the number one segment, no surprise, was the EVPs showing the footage backstage of CM Punk. Now, multiple things that I think you guys did, and by the way, the link is down in the description box if you want to look at it yourself, but there are multiple things to take away from this. So it's not just the fact that CM Punk was the highest rated segment of the entire night. If that isn't embarrassing enough, if that isn't a hard L that you have to sit back and you have to fucking swallow, because you had to know in the end of the day, and honestly, you were probably betting on the fact that you can get this kind of number, even though it came at the behest of your enemy, your op, your rival. I think something that people are going to probably overlook is the first thing that I said. Actually, the first two things that I said. Let me run that by you guys one more time, just in case you forgot. I said the fifth and the fourth biggest segments of the night was Will Ospreay's shoot promo and Kazuchika Okada defending his Continental Championship. Did you hear that? The two lowest drawing segments of the entire night was Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay. Two out of the three people you spent millions upon millions of dollars on to get nothing in return. Nothing in return. Look, what was the third biggest segment of the night? Out of curiosity, what was the third? The third was Edge and Penta, and the second was Joe and Dustin. So two segments with guys who were already there that, quite frankly, Edge is going to cost a lot of money, but these two guys, these two segments with people who were already there, you didn't have to waste any money on Will Ospreay, you didn't have to waste any money on Kazuchika Okada, you didn't have to waste any money on any of these New Japan talents. You could have focused strictly on these talents right here, and you would have gotten the same number. And you somehow shit the bed. So now we have a clear understanding after the past few months now where everybody stands. You wasted your money on talent for no fucking reason. It's another L that I feel people are going to overlook. Because it's one thing to just talk about Edge, talk about CM Punk and his numbers at the moment. That's already embarrassing. But then when you talk about the other things, that I feel people are going to overlook as far as those numbers are considered with the two talents that you brought in for, I gotta assume, if not 2-digit as far as the $1 million mark, close to it. And I'm pretty sure Sasha Banks puts you over the edge, right? No pun intended. And I'm pretty sure Edge puts you even more over the edge, pun definitely intended. This is an L of I'm trying to think of a wrestling company who has had a bigger L like this. Maybe WCW, and that's because they got put out of business. But outside of that, obviously, and that's because they're not around anymore, or any wrestling company for that matter. Let's just talk about active companies. Is there another active company that has taken so many L's? Like, even when you're taking a W, you're still taking an L. CM Punk is your biggest draw. That is wild. That is wild. Your biggest draw is your biggest op. That's crazy. And even worse, you didn't even do anything with CM Punk. Like, it's not as if you built CM Punk. CM Punk came into your company the way he was, and he left the way he was. Meaning you had nothing to do with that. Last night, when I called AEW the biggest parasite in professional wrestling, you think that was a joke? You think that was just a rant? That's true. That's true. You see it yourself. They didn't make anything. Who did they make that actually drew that night? Who? Nobody. I'm looking at the roster right now. I'm looking at every segment right now. Everybody who was the actual drawing factor in each match, they didn't make any of them. None of them at all. None. Not even their own EVPs. What does that tell you? There has to be some changes within AEW. You know, I put up this poll earlier, and I wonder where it's. You know, I actually haven't even looked at it yet. I actually am curious. Where this poll I put out as far as do they feel that they're willing? Is anyone willing to give AEW a chance again? And the polling is 375 people voted so far in a 2-hour period. 13% said yes, and 87% said no. Now, granted, I will say I'm not stupid. I have a staunch anti-AEW audience. But do you ever ask yourselves why they're staunch AEW haters or anti-AEW people, if you will? You ever ask yourselves that? Because I could tell you also, looking at my same audience, I know my audience better than anybody else knows my audience. It's not just staunch anti-AEW. Now, granted, obviously they're more pro-WWE than they are AEW, but I would tell you that the majority of my audience, they don't like the state of professional wrestling as a whole nowadays. No one in my audience is really that biased. I mean, you may have like a couple of them that I could probably think of, but like, really speaking, no, there's not really any hardcore WWE marks in my audience. It's just more so the fact that they don't like professional wrestling as a whole nowadays. You might find a couple, but you ever ask yourselves why they happen to be this way? And yeah, obviously there are some arguments that could be made, which is a bad thing, and it does come all together with the package when you talk about AEW. Yeah, you can say that it's a big fuck you to the AEW faithful who pretends that AEW does nothing wrong. I mean, that could definitely be the case, but can it just also be the case that AEW doesn't put on compelling television? That the only thing compelling to want to watch your show, to make people want to sit back and watch your show, is not specifically just CM Punk coming back from WWE to your company to draw, but also just the simple fact that there was something of a hook, no pun intended, that actually got people to come and get reel them in, and here they are right now. See, AEW fundamentally, they do not either understand or they don't care for human psychology. It's pretty easy to get anybody to want to really watch your videos. Now, granted, obviously luck plays a bit of a factor, but as far as you doing the work, going on the ground and trying to get people to come and watch your channel, it doesn't even have to take that much advertising or anything like that. You pick something or you do something that's incredibly popular, that you know is popular, that you know is trending, and you consistently hit on it over and over and over again. Look at my videos that I've been putting out these past couple of weeks. A bunch of AEW and Tony Khan videos. Why? Because I know they're popular within my audience. Why? Because it's very, very easy to talk about, and I know no one's gonna, at least, and I sound kind of cocky here, but honestly, I don't mean to. I know no one's gonna hit on it like I do, as far as from, pointing out the negatives and trying to go a little bit deeper underneath the ground without actually sugarcoating anything. It's easy content, but at the same time, it's popular content, and it's content that's not only popular and easy, but it's popular and easy, and I actually actively want to do it, and I actually actively want to talk about. And then you look at AEW, for an example, and they do the complete opposite of what people actually care for. They do what their audience wants to see, their dwindling audience, if you will, because, like I said, there are other companies who aren't as, not even say AEW is restricted, but to say that they're not as restricted, right, as AEW. As little restricted in comparison to what AEW is already restricted to do nowadays, which is not a lot anyways. And so you're going to get more bang for your buck if you really care for the wrestling exhibition aspect of it all, right? So you're going to go to some rinky-dink fucking indie fed bullshit nonsense, fucking mud show presentation, and you're gonna get your fix when it comes to the bullshit wrestling, right? Whether it's the flips or the dives or the kicks or the cries, or whether it's people just being complete numbskulls and bashing each other over the head with chairs and fucking light tubes. You're gonna get your fix by watching some random backyard wrestler do some stupid shit like that. AEW can never compete with that. It's like WWE when it comes to the bra and panty stuff, which I'm pretty sure why they quite frankly stop, because not just the PG rating, but you ask yourselves, look, we can only go so far with the bra and penny stuff in 2008 as we're starting to venture towards the internet age even further, because now we have free pornography, and you're not going to compete with Pornhub when it comes to women getting naked or half naked. It's just not going to happen. They have millions, quite frankly, probably approaching billions of uploads overall on all these porn videos. You're never going to compete with them, with Miss Cat going out there with her big tits and flat ass and doing what she's doing right there in Armageddon 1989 when she gets bare naked. By the way, I will be reviewing that show on Saturday. You're not going to compete with that. It's a lot easier to do that kind of stuff, say for an example, in 1999 when all you really had was Playboy at the time, but it's really, really hard to do that nowadays. It's not to say that I don't advocate for it to come back, because there are certain women who I know won't do porn, obviously, who I would like to see in that position, but I'm just giving an example as far as why it's hard to compete in said kind of spaces. But it's up to you to be innovative. It's up to you to at least take quantity. If you're not going to do the whole thing, at least take aspects of each thing that you know is popular and use it to the best of your abilities. This could just be done in everyday life. And it feels like AEW doesn't want to do that. So, like a person who's psychotic, because that's what it is, that's the definition of crazy, to do the same thing over and over and over and over again, hoping to get different results. That's the definition of crazy, right? That's what they're doing currently at the moment. They're constantly just all the time, just over and over and over, otra vez, again and again and again and again, and you just keep getting the same fucking results. And it's like, what do you do with that, bro? What do you do with that? All you can do, honestly, is just look at that and just smile and just say to yourself, okay, well, cool, at least I have content, at least speaking for myself. You're not going to get far like that. You're not. You're going to keep getting numbers like this. You know what people want to see. It's not just the CM Punk stuff, but it's that particular type of feud. It's that particular type of energy that you should be touching on over and over and over again. You don't have Punk anymore. You've wasted that opportunity. You've wasted that chance. That's never going to happen ever again for the rest of your company's position in life. That's it. That's done. That's over. So what you need to do is build somebody up like a CM Punk so they can fill that void, no pun intended, and they could be the next CM Punk within your company, just as abrasive, just as controversial, because that's what your audience wants at the moment, right? That's what everybody wants to see at the moment. And you build up upon that. You see why the Attitude Era, honestly, say like in 97, 98, they weren't as big. I mean, they eventually did, but at that time, they weren't big budget like WCW. WCW was the Billionaires Club. They had all the top talent in the fucking world in their company by January of 98. They had the hottest angle with Sting and Hulk Hogan going on at that time. Bill Goldberg was starting to build up a streak. They literally had everything locked down. There was nothing that WCW couldn't do that was wrong. They had the cruiserweights down pat. As far as one of the wrestling, they had the storylines down pat. They had the coolest stable down pat. They even took WWE's biggest star in Bret Hart and brought it over to the company. There was literally nothing. And then they had the production value. Every single thing that WCW had, they were above on WWE. But you know one thing they didn't have on WWE, even though they had decent stories? Was the stories in themselves. There's no price to having a good story. There's no price to having good characters. There's no price to having a decent cliffhanger, to having a decent, capture, a decent climax. You can do that for free if you know what you're doing. WWE, all they had to do was present Mr. McMahon as a heel character. You got Stone Cold Steve Austin right there. A beer drinking, middle finger sticking, wild fucking crazy, everyday man, living vicariously through him. All you needed was those two guys, and boom. No matter what WCW had, there was nothing as authentic as to what WWE had within Vince and Austin. And from that, they built off of that. Now this popularity, you're being able to, maybe Austin can feud with Undertaker and Kane, and maybe Kane can split off and he can do his thing with X-Pac, and Taker can do his thing with the corporation or the Ministry Corporation, the Ministry of Darkness, and then maybe we could put Triple H with them, and The Rock is the leader of the corporation. They can be tangled up with the Ministry of Darkness. Now they can split off and do their own thing, even though Triple H was just with D-Generation X and The Rock was with the Nation of Domination, and you just split off everybody based off of that one foundation. And that's how a company gets put into a position like what WWE was going into 1999, going into 2000, and look at them now. A multi-billion corporation, all stemming off of the back of Austin and McMahon. Think about that for a second. Austin and McMahon, before Austin and McMahon, they were being repoed with water coolers and shit like that. And then they did Austin and McMahon, and that one rivalry right there, that one feud, is the reason why they're even here today, and they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, conglomerate on the New York Stock Exchange. You can be that exact same way too, Tony. But here you are, messing around with fucking New Japan Pro wrestlers and all this other shit, having a bunch of titles, making everything completely meaningless. Everything has to be an exhibition match. Nothing is ever followed up on. Momentum kaput before it even gets fucking started. Christian and Edge having blow-off matches on the regular episodes of Dynamite when you got a pay-per-view coming up right now. Just focusing on all the wrong shit. And that's why no one's going to give you a chance. That's why you'll never grow. That's why you'll always be a what-if story when everything is all said and done. I will hope for you to get better. I want you to get better. I don't want AEW stumbling around in the 800,000 mark. I don't want them stumbling around in the 700,000 mark. I want WWE. I want wrestling to be popular. You have these people who will sit back and they say, why do you complain about professional wrestling so much? Because I know what professional wrestling can do. You are just trying to make everybody fucking happy. I'm not. I want wrestling to be back into the same shape that it was 20 years ago. And don't say that it's not possible when we've seen things at the Bloodline, when we see things at The Rock, peak numbers on SmackDown in the 3 millions. And that's with how cable is nowadays. That's with how television is presented nowadays, when you have multiple shows that get over 20 million viewers. It is possible. You make excuses in order to keep yourself a bet. And I'll end it on this, because that's the worst part about it, is that the people that know that there's a problem, I don't know what's up with this generation as far as actual grit. As far as like, I don't want to say fortitude, but because I don't think that's the appropriate word, but giving up so fucking easily because the answer is not directly in front of your face. Then you make the answer. You make the answer. Everything is not going to be directly in front of your face. You have to figure out what the problem is, and then you have to build up on that solution. And everybody just gives up so easy. Well, WWE, AEW, they're in the position that they're in right now. Cable is dead. This, that, and the third. No. There are multiple ways of how you can fix that. Television might be dead, but it ain't buried. And honestly, it's not even that dead. It's on life support. You sit back and you make all these excuses in the fucking world, man. You know, just to take myself as an example, my channel had nearly 6,000 subs. And then it got deleted. I could have easily just given up. And, well, I would have been shit out of luck. No channel, no nothing. That would have just been it. Well, again, I'm still a small channel. But I made this channel back in September. And now I'm at 3,000 subs. I'm already halfway. I'm more than halfway there to my original subscription number. I've gotten more subs in 8 months than my entire channel's existence, damn near. The views that I'm getting right now on a consistent basis is probably some of the highest views I've ever gotten, even compared to my old Millennial Smart channel. I could have given up. But if you like what you're doing, then you're going to try to find ways to do it. 700,000, 800,000, CM Punk this, CM Punk that. Excuses. Try to fit in what you like with what everybody else likes and promote that as the product. And if you can't do that, if that's not your goal, if that's not the business that you're in, then no excuses when you go out of business, and no excuses when you're put in such an awkward, weird position such as where you're at right now. AEW has no one to blame but themselves, and Tony Khan has no one to blame but themselves. But in this case, as far as the number that they got this week, all that blame goes on CM Punk, and that's embarrassing. And you should use that as a concerning manner in order to grow. Of course they won't, but that's just me, I don't know, being optimistic. What can I say? As always, my name is Devontae. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces. Peace.